Top Gun turned Tom Cruise into a star, but behind the aviators and afterburners, a tragic accident, a steamy, unscripted kiss, camera tricks that hid more than just missiles, and the one cast member who flew through it all without losing his lunch. Stick around for 20 weird facts that'll make you see Top Gun in a whole new way. Number 1. The invisible detail that took serious planning. The Navy's F-14 Tomcat wasn't the only thing soaring in Top Gun. So were Tom Cruise's boots. At 5'7", Cruise stood a few inches shorter than his on-screen love interest, Kelly McGillis, who measured in at 5'10". And for Paramount, that was a problem. To keep Maverick looking like a leading man, Cruise wore specially made lift boots throughout production. In key scenes, McGillis went barefoot, and camera angles were carefully chosen to mask the height gap. You can spot the trickery if you look closely, like in the elevator scene where McGillis wears a baseball cap. But that cap wasn't just a fashion choice. The real reason she wore it? We'll reveal that coming up. Number 2. The scene the studio hated, but audiences loved. The film's director, Tony Scott, famously shot the now iconic beach volleyball scene like it was a high-gloss music video. Slow motion, oiled-up bodies, golden hour lighting, and all. The original script called for a short montage, but Scott dedicated an entire day to filming the sequence, prioritizing visuals over plot. When Paramount executives saw the footage, they were furious. They had expected a quick, functional insert, and were livid that Scott had wasted so much time and film on what they saw as an indulgent, gratuitous sequence. According to accounts from the cast and crew, one executive even threatened to fire Scott over it. But Scott stood by the scene. He knew it would become a fan favorite, and he was right. The sequence, set to Kenny Loggins playing with the boys, became one of the most talked about moments in Top Gun, and is now a beloved and parodied piece of 80s cinema history. Number 3. They wanted him as Maverick, but he passed. It's hard to imagine anyone but Tom Cruise flying high as Maverick, but he wasn't the first pick. Before Cruise locked in the role, Top Gun's producers considered a full squadron of rising stars, including Patrick Swayze, John Cusack, Emilio Estevez, and even Tom Hanks. But the closest call? Matthew Modine. He reportedly passed on the part due to concerns over the film's glorification of military power, choosing instead to star in Full Metal Jacket. Number 4. Slider slipped up and got sent packing. Filming Top Gun aboard an active Navy vessel was no walk in the park. Just ask Rick Rossovich, who played Slider. During production on the USS Enterprise, Rossovich decided he didn't like his assigned bunk location, too close to the ship's nuclear reactor for comfort. So, without permission, he moved to an empty bunk in another section of the ship. When a Navy officer ordered him to move back, Rossovich refused. That act of defiance didn't sit well with the chain of command. Word got to the captain, and Rossovich was promptly booted off the carrier. Literally. He was flown back to port, grounded from the floating set for good. Rossovich later admitted the incident, laughing that he got, quote, the full Navy experience. But it's safe to say Slider's cockiness wasn't just acting, at least for one day. Number 5. Flying F-14 Tomcats doesn't come cheap, and Paramount felt every second of it. To capture the real thunder of fighter jets in action, the studio struck a deal with the U.S. Navy. The price? $7,800 per flight hour, just to keep those jets in the sky. And that's in 1986 money. Today, it would be more than double. Those costs included fuel, maintenance, and the skilled Navy personnel needed to operate them. Between flight sequences, aircraft carrier operations, and takeoffs filmed from the USS Enterprise, the aviation bill alone topped $1.8 million. But the payoff? Some of the most thrilling aerial footage ever put on screen. Number 6. Not everyone could handle the need for speed. When producers tried to convince Cruise to sign on, he wasn't sold until they arranged for him to take a high-speed ride with the Navy's Blue Angels. After pulling multiple Gs, Cruise stumbled off the tarmac and vomited immediately. But the adrenaline rush must have kicked in, because legend has it, he walked straight to a payphone and told Jerry Bruckheimer, "I'm in. I love it." And Cruise wasn't alone in losing his lunch. Most of the cast got sick during their mandatory backseat flights in real F-14s, except for one. Anthony Edwards, who played Goose, somehow kept his cool and his stomach through every maneuver. While Cruise and others were reaching for barf bags, Edwards was the only cast member who walked away from the cockpit unshaken. Maybe that's why Goose was so steady under pressure. Number 7. He tried to say no, but couldn't. Val Kilmer's Iceman was cool, cocky, and unforgettable, But the actor himself, he wanted no part of it. Kilmer wasn't a fan of the Top Gun script, or its glorified view of military culture. He thought the story lacked depth and wasn't interested in playing a character who existed mostly to scowl and sneer at Maverick. But there was one problem. Kilmer was under contract with Paramount. The studio invoked that clause and forced him to show up for the audition. Kilmer later admitted he gave a deliberately half-hearted read, but still got the role. Despite his early reluctance, Kilmer threw himself into the character once filming began, and ended up stealing scenes with his icy glare and clipped delivery. He later acknowledged that taking the part was good karma, even if it wasn't his choice. Number 8. Iceman was ice cold off-camera too. Though Val Kilmer wasn't keen on doing Top Gun, once he stepped into Iceman's flight suit, he fully committed. Maybe a little too much. Kilmer kept his distance from Tom Cruise on set, choosing not to socialize between takes. Some say he stayed in character to fuel the tension, while others believe the coldness was genuine. Either way, the result was electric. The cast even fell into factions. Team Maverick versus Team Iceman. The rivalry wasn't just for the cameras. It was felt on set. And Kilmer wasn't afraid to bring that edge into his performance. In the classroom scene where Maverick brags about an inverted encounter, Kilmer's sharp, dismissive BS cough was completely improvised. It wasn't in the script, and Cruise's startled reaction was real. The moment was so perfect it made the final cut, a raw little detail that made Iceman unforgettable. Number 9. The sunset scene that cost more than you think. After spending thousands per hour to keep real F-14s in the air, you'd think the budget was tight. But director Tony Scott wasn't about to let a perfect sunset slip away, no matter the cost. While filming aboard the USS Enterprise, Scott noticed the lighting wasn't hitting the jets the way he wanted. So he asked the ship's captain to turn the entire aircraft carrier around, just to recapture the perfect golden hour shot. The captain replied, "Sure, but it'll cost you $25,000. Without hesitation, Scott wrote a check on the spot. The ship changed course for a few extra minutes of light. The only problem? The check bounced. But the shot made it into the film and became one of Top Gun's most striking visual moments. Number 10. The kiss you weren't supposed to see. During the emotionally charged argument scene between Charlie and Maverick, when Charlie admits she's falling for him, Tom Cruise forgot his next line. Instead of freezing, he leaned in and kissed Kelly McGillis mid-scene. It was completely unplanned. Director Tony Scott saw the spark in the moment and made a bold choice. No retakes. He kept the kiss in the final cut, turning a fumbled line into one of Top Gun's most memorable romantic turns. That unscripted kiss wasn't in the script, but it became pure movie magic. Number 11. You'll never guess who really flew that jet. Remember that jaw-dropping shot, Maverick flying upside down, flipping off a MiG, and buzzing the tower at Miramar? The daring pilot behind the controls wasn't just any aviator. It was Scott "Scooter" Altman, a real-life Top Gun graduate and F-14 test pilot. He flew several of the film's most daring stunts. Years later, Altman traded the F-14 cockpit for a space shuttle and became a NASA astronaut, logging 4 space flights. So yes, some of Top Gun's flashiest flying was courtesy of a future astronaut. Number 12. Quoting Top Gun here could get you fined. Want to quote Top Gun at the real Naval Fighter Weapons School? Better dig into your wallet. At the real-life Top Gun, the U.S. Navy's elite fighter pilot training program, every quote from the 1986 film costs you $5. That's not a myth. It's part of the official bylaws. The rule was explained by Commander Guy Buss Snodgrass, a former Top Gun instructor, in his leadership memoir. He says trainees who drop lines like "I feel the need" are fined on the spot and expected to pay immediately. Why the fine? Snodgrass wrote that Top Gun pilots won't let a movie make them look unprofessional. Despite Top Gun inspiring some to join the program, instructors want focus, not fandom. So, while Hollywood got the thrill, graduates keep it strictly professional. No quoting the movie allowed. Number 13. The real-life loss that still haunts the film. Veteran aerobatic pilot Art Scholl was hired to capture aerial stunt footage for Top Gun. During production in September 1985, while performing a complex flat-spin maneuver in his Pitts S2 camera plane, Scholl radioed that he was experiencing a problem. Moments later, his aircraft crashed into the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California. Despite an extensive search, neither Scholl's body nor the wreckage of the plane was ever recovered. His death deeply affected the cast and crew. In tribute, Top Gun is dedicated to his memory in the closing credits. Number 14, they made millions, believe it, with just 2 shots. You'd think Top Gun launched an entire Cold War's worth of firepower, but in reality, just 2 real missiles were fired during production. The Navy only authorized the crew to shoot 2 actual AIM-9 Sidewinders, which were carefully filmed from multiple angles to make them look like dozens. The footage was then cleverly reused and edited into various sequences throughout the film. All other missile launches? Miniature models. The special effects team built detailed mini-jet replicas and staged missile launches on a small scale, using forced perspective, smoke, and fire to create the illusion of full-scale dogfights. The result fooled millions. In fact, the miniatures were so convincing that some viewers, and even Navy brass, reportedly wondered if Top Gun had pulled off extra unauthorized shots. But no, just 2 missiles, and a whole lot of movie magic.
Number 15, Danger Zone was rejected by 5 artists.
Before Top Gun turned it into an adrenaline anthem, Danger Zone was just a killer track in search of a voice. Producers knew they needed something electrifying to match the film's jet-powered visuals, but landing the right artist wasn't easy. Bryan Adams turned it down, reportedly uncomfortable with the movie's military themes. Corey Hart passed too, wanting to stick with his own material. REO Speedwagon declined, and Toto was actually hired at one point. They even started recording, but a dispute with their label shut it down. Eventually, the song found its match, Kenny Loggins. He'd already contributed Playing with the Boys for the volleyball scene, and when the Danger Zone slot reopened, he stepped in. The result? A track that defined the film's energy and became one of the most recognizable movie themes of the decade, still blasting from speakers and soundtracks nearly 40 years later. Number 16. The MiG-28 doesn't exist. That slick black enemy jet in Top Gun? Pure Hollywood fiction. There's no such thing as a MiG-28. The filmmakers made it up entirely. In reality, the planes used to portray the Soviet fighters were American F-5E Tiger IIs, painted jet black to look more menacing and unfamiliar. These same aircraft were already used by the U.S. Navy's real-life Top Gun school as aggressor jets for combat training, meant to simulate enemy fighters. Why make up a name? Simple. Using a real Soviet model like the MiG-21 or MiG-23 would have required more accuracy and possibly created diplomatic tension during the Cold War. So the MiG-28 was born. Fictional, formidable, and just foreign enough to pass on screen.
Number 17, the romance that was ordered last minute. Needs more romance. That was the note from test audiences and Paramount execs after early screenings of Top Gun. So even though filming had wrapped months earlier, the cast and crew were called back for reshoots, specifically to spice up the chemistry between Maverick and Charlie. 2 key scenes were added: the elevator scene, where they exchange flirtatious tension, and the blue-lit love scene, set to take my breath away. But there was a problem. Both stars had already moved on to other roles. Kelly McGillis had dyed her hair darker for a different film, and Tom Cruise's hair was longer. So director Tony Scott improvised. McGillis wears a baseball cap in the elevator scene, and the love scene was drenched in blue lighting to mask their mismatched looks. It worked, and audiences got the romance they wanted without ever knowing they were watching last-minute pickups. Number 18. Charlie was based on a real Pentagon analyst. Maverick's love interest, Charlotte Charlie Blackwood, wasn't just a screenwriter's invention. She was based on a real woman named Christine Fox, a civilian flight instructor and analyst who worked at Naval Air Station Miramar. Fox wasn't just smart, she was brilliant, a mathematical whiz who analyzed aerial combat tactics and briefed top Navy brass. The Top Gun filmmakers met her during pre-production and were so impressed that they shaped Charlie's character around her. She had the confidence, intellect, and presence to command a room full of fighter pilots, just like Kelly McGillis's character does in the film. But Christine Fox's story didn't end there. Years after Top Gun, she broke barriers in real life, rising through the ranks to become Acting Deputy Secretary of Defense in 2013. That made her the highest-ranking woman in Pentagon history at the time. Number 19, the hidden tribute in Maverick's name.
In the film, Tom Cruise's character is mostly known by his call sign Maverick, but his full name is Pete Mitchell. And that first name? It wasn't random. Pete was chosen as a quiet tribute to Pete Viper Pettigrew, a decorated Navy pilot and real-life Top Gun instructor who served as a technical advisor on the film. Pettigrew not only helped bring accuracy to the aerial combat scenes, but he also inspired aspects of the character Viper, played by Tom Skerritt. In fact, Pettigrew even has a small cameo in the movie. He plays Charlie's older gentleman friend in the bar right before Maverick launches into "You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'."
Number 20, the surprise waiting outside Top Gun screenings. When Top Gun premiered in 1986, the U.S. Navy quietly took an aggressive marketing approach. They placed recruitment tables in theater lobbies to speak with excited viewers stepping out of the movie. Moviegoers energized by the film could meet with real Navy recruiters right after a screening. Recruiters reported a noticeable surge in interest in naval aviation. In interviews, officials said around 90% of inquiry callers had cited the film as their inspiration.
All right, talk to me, Goose. What was your favorite fact? Drop it in the comments, and if you feel the need to like, subscribe, and share,
Do it now. We'll see you in the danger zone.